Assalamualaikum. I'm Dr. Faiza. Today our topic is extensor muscles of forearm. So forearm is the region of upper limb between the elbow joint proximal and the wrist joint distal. So this is the forearm. So forearm, it is divided into two compartments by the interosseous membrane. This is the interosseous membrane, and the deep fascia into the anterior compartment and the posterior compartment. The anterior compartment is also the flexor compartment, and posterior compartment is also known as the extensor compartment. So this is the radius bone, and this is the ulna bone. The ulna is on the medial side and radius is on the lateral side. So the forearm, it is divided into the anterior and the posterior compartment. This is the anterior compartment and this is the posterior compartment by the interosseous membrane. Between the radius and the ulna, the interosseous membrane is present, and on the posterior border of ulna here, the aponeurosis is attached. And the radial artery, it passes on the lateral side of the forearm, and it divides the forearm into anterior and posterior compartment. Later you study it in detail, the significance of these compartment. Okay, at this stage just remember that the forearm is divided into the anterior and posterior compartment, and the anterior compartment is also called the flexor compartment as it contains the flexor muscles, and posterior compartment is also known as the extensor compartment as it contains the extensor muscles. And now I'll show you the extensor muscles in detail. So there are two group of extensor muscles, the superficial extensor muscles and the deep extensor muscles. Okay, in superficial extensor muscles there are 7 muscles. We can remember it from the mnemonic, this mnemonic: A, B, C3, D2, E5. So A Anconius, B brachioradialis, C3 means that 3 carpi, and D2 means 2 digiti, and E5 means 5 extensor. So there are 7 muscles in superficial extensor compartment: Anconius, brachioradialis, extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor carpi ulnaris, extensor digitorum, and then extensor digiti minimi. And in the deep extensor muscles, we can remember this from the mnemonic E3P3AS. A abductor pollicis longus, E3 means 3 extensors, 3 pollicis, and A abductor and S supinator. So there are 5 muscles in the deep extensor compartments: supinator, abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, and extensor indicis. So in superficial extensor muscles, number 1 muscle is brachioradialis. Okay, so this one is the brachioradialis. It is present on the anterior and lateral side of the forearm, and it forms the lateral border of the cubital fossa. It originates from the upper two-thirds of the lateral supracondylar ridge of the humerus, and it inserts into the base of the styloid process of radius, and its nerve supply is radial nerve, and its action is flexion of forearm in mid-prone position. Later I show you it in detail the movements. So this brachioradialis is exceptional in the posterior compartment, that it is rotated anterior aspect of the humerus and then flexes the forearm at the elbow. Okay, it causes no flexion at the wrist joint, it causes flexion only at the elbow in mid prone position. So when we have to test the brachioradialis muscle, the elbow joint, this is the elbow joint, it is flexed against resistance with the forearm in mid prone position. This is the mid prone position, and resistance is applied here, and elbow joint is flexed with the forearm in mid-prone position. If brachioradialis is acting normally, then the muscle can be seen and palpated easily. Extensor carpi radialis longus, it is a fusiform muscle. Okay, it is partially overlapped by the brachioradialis. It originates from the lower one-third of the supracondylar ridge of the humerus. This is the supracondylar ridge, and it originates from the lower one-third of the supracondylar ridge of the humerus and inserts into the posterior surface of base of second metacarpal bone. Okay, these are the carpal bones and these are the metacarpal bones. These are the phalanges. Okay, so it inserts into the posterior surface of base of second metacarpal bone, and nerve supply is radial nerve, and action is extension of the hand at the wrist joint and abduction of hand at the wrist joint. So this extensor carpi radialis longus, it plays an important role when clenching the fist. So, when we have to test this extensor carpi radialis longus muscle, the wrist is extended and abducted with the forearm pronated. Okay, if muscle is acted normally, then the muscle can be palpated inferior and posterior to the lateral side of the elbow, and its tendon can be palpated proximal to the wrist. So this is the wrist and this is the proximal. Here you can palpate its tendon and here the muscle can be palpated. So this extensor carpi radialis brevis, as its name indicates, brevis means small and longus mean longs. Okay, so this muscle is smaller than the extensor carpi radialis longus and it originates from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus. Okay, this is the common extensor origin. From here other muscles also originate. Okay, so it is inserted into the posterior surface of base of third metacarpal. This is the first metacarpal, this is second, and this is third. So it is inserted into the posterior surface of base of third metacarpal bone, and the nerve supply is the deep branch of radial nerve. Action is extension of hand at the wrist joint and abduction of hand at the wrist joint, which is the same action as that of the extensor carpi radialis longus muscle. So these two muscles, the extensor carpi radialis brevis and extensor carpi radialis longus muscles, they act as synergist muscles and help in the extension of hand at the wrist joint and abduction of hand at the wrist joint. So this is the extensor digitorum muscle and it is the principal extensor of the medial four digits. Okay, these are the medial four digits. This is the thumb and it occupies much space of the posterior surface of the forearms. Okay, this is the bulky muscle and it occupies much space of the posterior surface of the forearm. ठीक है, it originates from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus. ठीक है, common extensor origin, that is the common extensor origin, and it inserts into the extensor expansion of medial four fingers. Okay, and the nerve supply is the deep branch of radial nerve and action is extension of the metacarpophalangeal and interphalangeal joints of medial four fingers. Okay, these are the carpal bones and these are the metacarpal bones and these are the phalanx. So the joint between the metacarpal and phalanx is metacarpophalangeal. Okay, and between the phalanx the joint is interphalangeal, so it causes extension of metacarpophalangeal and interphalangeal joints, okay, of medial four fingers and extension of hand at the wrist joint. So its four tendons, the extensor digitorum, its four tendons, it joins the tendon of extensor indicis. So this is here the extensor indicis attached. Later I'll show you on the fifth finger, a little finger. These tendons of extensor digitorum, they join the tendon of extensor indicis and passes deep to the extensor retinaculum. Here the extensor retinaculum attached and then it passes deep to the extensor retinaculum through the tendinous sheath of extensor digitorum and extensor indicis. So on this extensor digitorum, the tendon, it is covered by the connective tissue which is known as the common extensor synovial sheath. So on the dorsum of the hand, these tendons, they spread out and reach the digits. And these tendons, they are linked together through intertendinous connections. Okay, these tendons they are linked together through intertendinous connections that restrict the independent movement of each tendon. So this dorsal expansion or extension expansion, it is the special connective tissue by which the extensor tendons they insert into the phalanx. Okay, these are the tendons, extensor tendons, and they insert into the phalanx. And later you study them in detail when you study the hand, that what is this dorsal expansion and what is the extensor retinaculum. Now at this stage only just remember that under this retinaculum these tendon of extensor muscles they pass, and then this dorsal expansion is the connective tissue that connects the tendons of the extensor muscles and tendon, and then they insert into the phalanx. Okay, through this dorsal expansion these extensor muscle tendons they insert into the phalanx, and these tendons they are interconnected through intertendinous connections. That's why when the one finger is extended, then the other fingers they also extend with them. Okay, there is no invisible movement as these tendons they are interconnected. So when we have to test this extensor digitorum muscle, the forearm is pronated and fingers are extended, and the person attempt to keep the digits extended at metacarpophalangeal joints as examiner exert pressure on the proximal phalanx. This is the proximal phalanx. The examiner exert pressure on the proximal phalanx, and the metacarpophalangeal joints they are extended, and the examiner exert pressure on the proximal phalanx by attempting to flex them. So if the muscle is acting normally, then the extensor digitorum it can be seen on the dorsum of the hand, and it can be palpated in the forearm, and its tendon can be seen on the dorsum of the hand. Here you can see its tendon. Okay, these are the tendons of extensor digitorum. So this extensor digiti minimi, that is a fusiform slip of muscle that is the detached part of extensor digitorum. It originates from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus. It also has a common extensor origin, and it inserts into the extensor expansion of little finger. And the nerve supply is the deep branch of radial nerve, and action is extension of metacarpophalangeal. These are the metacarpophalangeal and interphalangeal joints of little finger. It also helps in extension of hand at the wrist joint. Okay, so the tendon of this extensor digiti minimi, it runs through a separate compartment of the extensor retinaculum with the tendinous sheath of extensor digiti minimi. Okay, its tendon then divides into two parts, the lateral and the medial part. The lateral part it joins with the tendon of extensor digitorum. Here the extensor digitorum tendons are attached, and the medial one is on the little finger. So it helps in the extension of metacarpophalangeal and interphalangeal joints of little finger. So in testing of this extensor digiti minimi muscle, the little finger is extended. This is the little finger is extended against resistance while holding the digits a second to four digits flexed at the metacarpophalangeal joints. And if the muscle is acting normally, then this muscle can then its tendon can be palpated. So this extensor carpi ulnaris, that is a long fusiform muscle that is located on the medial border of the forearm. It has two heads, the humeral head that originates from the common extensor tendon, that is the lateral epicondyle of the humerus, and an ulnar head that arises by a common epineurosis that is attached to the posterior border of the ulna. And its tendon runs in the groove between the ulnar head and its styloid process through a separate compartment of extensor retinaculum within the tendinous sheath of extensor carpi ulnaris, and it is inserted into the dorsal surface of base of fifth metacarpal bone. So this is the fifth metacarpal bone, and on its dorsal surface it is inserted into the base of fifth metacarpal bone. So it extends the hand at the wrist joint like with the extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis, and it causes adduction of hand at the wrist joint. Okay, so this make this correction, this is not flexor, this is extensor. Okay, with the extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis, it causes extension of hand at the wrist joint, and it causes adduction of hand at the wrist joint, and the nerve is deep branch of radial nerve. So it like the extensor carpi radialis longus, it is also necessary when clenching the fist. So in testing of extensor carpi ulnaris muscle, the forearm is pronated and fingers are extended. The extended wrist is then adducted. So this is the midline position, and if adduction is the movement of hand towards the midline, okay, and movement of line away from the midline is abduction. So this forearm is pronated and fingers are extended, and the extended wrist is then adducted against resistance. Okay, resistance is applied here, and the extended wrist is then adducted. And if muscle is acting normally, then it can be seen and palpated in the proximal part of forearm, and its tendon can be felt proximal to head of the ulna. So this is the thumb side. So on the thumb side, the radius is present, and this is the lateral side, and this is the medial side, and head of the ulna is there. So its tendon can be felt here. So after completing the superficial extensor muscles, the deep extensor muscles, the number one muscle is supinator muscle. This muscle lies deep in the cubital fossa and along with the brachialis muscle form its floor. Okay, so this muscle originates from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus. Here you can also see this from the lateral epicondyle of the humerus, the annular ligament of the superior radioulnar joint, and the supinator fossa and crest of ulna, and it inserts into the upper one third of lateral surface of shaft of the radius. This is the shaft of the radius, and the upper one third of the lateral surface of shaft of the radius, and nerve supply is the deep branch of radial nerve, and action is supination of forearm at the radioulnar joint. So this deep branch of radial nerve, so this is the radial nerve and its deep branch, it runs between the fibers of the supinator muscles and divides it into the superficial and deep part, and it passes from the cubital fossa to the posterior part of the arm. It exits the muscle and then joins the posterior introitious artery, and here it is known as posterior introitious nerve. Later you study it in detail. So the extensor pollicis longus, as the name indicates, longus means that it has long tendon. Here you can see it has long tendon, okay, and pollicis mean thumb, so it is attached on the thumb. So this extensor pollicis longus, that means it causes extension of the interphalangeal joints of the thumb. So this extensor pollicis longus, it originates from the posterior surface of the ulna below the abductor pollicis longus, and it inserts into the posterior surface of base of distal phalanx of thumb. So this is the thumb, and these are the carpal bones, this is the metacarpal, and these are the phalanx. This is the proximal and this is the distal phalanx. So it is inserted into the base of distal phalanx of thumb, and nerve supply is posterior introitious nerve of the radial nerve, and action is extension of the interphalangeal joint of thumb. So these the joints between the phalanx are the interphalangeal joints, and it causes extension of interphalangeal joints of the thumb. So in addition to the extension of interphalangeal joints of thumb, the extensor pollicis longus also adducts the extended thumb and rotate it laterally. So extensor pollicis brevis, as the name indicates, brevis means it has small tendon. It is shorter than the extensor pollicis longus, and it lies distal to the abductor pollicis longus and is partly covered by it. It originates from the posterior surface of shaft of radius, posterior surface of shaft of radius below abductor pollicis longus, and inserts into the posterior surface of base of proximal phalanx of the thumb. So extensor pollicis longus, it is inserted into the distal phalanx, and this extensor pollicis brevis is inserted into the base of proximal phalanx of thumb, and nerve supply is posterior introitious nerve of the radial nerve, and action is extension of metacarpophalangeal joint. So these are the carpal bones, and so this is the metacarpal bone, and this is the phalanx. So it's called extension of metacarpophalangeal joints. Extensor pollicis brevis cause extension of interphalangeal joints, but this extensor pollicis brevis, it cause extension of metacarpophalangeal joints. So in addition to causing the extension of metacarpophalangeal joint, the extensor pollicis brevis abduct the hand. So in testing of extensor pollicis longus muscle, the thumb is extended against resistance at the interphalangeal joint. So this is the interphalangeal joint and this is the metacarpophalangeal joint. Okay, so thumb is extended and resistance is applied here. It is extended against resistance at interphalangeal joint, and if the extensor pollicis longus muscle is acting normally, then the tendon of the muscle can be palpated on the medial side of anatomical snuff box. Later I'll show you this snuff box on the medial side of this anatomical snuff box. Here the snuff box is present on the medial side of this snuff box. This tendon of extensor pollicis longus muscle can be palpated. Or in testing of extensor pollicis brevis muscle, the thumb is also extended against resistance at the metacarpophalangeal joint. Here in extensor pollicis longus, resistance is applied at the interphalangeal joint. In extensor pollicis brevis, the resistance is applied at the metacarpophalangeal joint. So, if extensor pollicis brevis is acting normally, then the tendon of the muscle can be palpated at the lateral side of anatomical snap box. Okay, so these both testings, they are similar. Just memorize that the thumb is extended, and in case of extensor pollicis longus, resistance is applied at the interphalangeal joint, and in extensor pollicis brevis, the resistance is applied at the metacarpophalangeal joint. And a muscle if acting normally, then extensor pollicis longus can be palpated on the medial side of the anatomical snuff box, and in extensor pollicis brevis it can be palpated on the lateral side of snuff box. Later I'll show you what is this anatomical snuff box. It is basically a gap between the tendons. Later you study it in detail. So this abductor pollicis longus, it has a long fusiform belly that lies just distal to the supinator. So and is closely related to extensor pollicis brevis. So it originates from the upper part of posterior surface of radius, ulna and introitious membrane. Okay, so this is the radius, this is the ulna, and between them is the introitious membrane. So posterior surface of ulna and introitious membrane, and inserts into the base of first metacarpal bone. And action is abduct, extend, laterally rotate the thumb at carpometacarpal. So these are the carpal bones and these are the metacarpal. So extend the thumb at the carpometacarpal joint and abduct the wrist. And nerve supply is posterior introitious. So this muscle, abductor pollicis longus, it acts with the abductor pollicis brevis during abduction of thumb and with the extensor pollicis muscles during extension of this digit. So in testing of abductor pollicis longus, the thumb, it is abducted against resistance at metacarpophalangeal joints. So this is the metacarpophalangeal joint. It is abducted against resistance at metacarpophalangeal joint. So if the muscle is acting normally, then its tendon can be seen and palpated at the lateral side of adjacent extensor pollicis brevis tendon. Okay, so its muscle can be seen and palpated at the lateral side of adjacent extensor pollicis brevis. Extensor indicis, it has a narrow elongated belly and that lies medial to and alongside that of the extensor pollicis longus. Okay, it originates from the posterior surface of the ulna below the extensor pollicis longus, and it inserts into the extensor expansion of index finger. And nerve supply is posterior introitious nerve of the radial nerve, and action is extension of all joints of the index finger, that is interphalangeal joints and metacarpophalangeal joints, and it also helps in extension of the wrist joint. Okay, so one important point you have to remember that this extensor indicis, it works independent to the index fingers in that it may act alone or together with the extensor digitorum to extend the index fingers at the proximal interphalangeal joint. So this extensor indicis is also attached on the index finger, while the extensor digitorum, which we studied previously, it is also attached on the medial four digits. So this extensor indicis also works alone or along with the extensor digitorum and extend the index finger at the proximal interphalangeal joint. So a gap is created between the tendons of extensor pollicis longus and extensor pollicis brevis and abductor pollicis longus. Okay, this gap is known as anatomical snuff box. Later you study it in detail. At this stage only just remember that the tendons of abductor pollicis longus, this is the abductor pollicis longus, and extensor pollicis brevis is anteriorly bound the anterior anatomical snuff box, and the tendon of extensor pollicis longus form its posterior part. Okay, so this gap is anatomical snuff box. It is present between the tendon of extensor pollicis longus and extensor pollicis brevis and abductor pollicis longus. Okay, later you study it in detail. At this stage only just remember that this gap is present on the lateral side, which is known as anatomical snuff box. Okay, later you study it in detail. This is the extensor retinaculum. At this stage, just memorize that these extensor muscles, their tendons, they pass deep to the extensor retinaculum. Okay, and then it is divided into 6 compartments. The compartment 1 includes the abductor pollicis longus tendon and extensor pollicis brevis tendon. Okay, later you study it in detail. Now at this stage only just memorize that there are 6 compartments, and memorize the names of the tendons that passes through each compartment. Okay, so in compartment number 1 the abductor pollicis longus and extensor pollicis brevis passes. In compartment number 2 the extensor radialis brevis and extensor carpi radialis longus, its tendon passes. In compartment number 3 the extensor pollicis longus, its tendon passes. In compartment number 4 the tendon of extensor digitorum and extensor indicis passes. In compartment number 5 the tendon of extensor digiti minimi passes. And in compartment number 6 there is a tendon of extensor carpi ulnaris passes. Okay, at this stage just memorize the name. Later you study it in detail. So when while we learn this superficial and deep extensor muscles, I just give you the review. So the superficial group includes the brachioradialis, extensor carpi radialis longus, extensor carpi radialis brevis, extensor digitorum, extensor digiti minimi, extensor carpi ulnaris and gonius. And these muscles, they arise from the supracondylar ridge and lateral epicondyle of the humerus, except the brachioradialis and angonius. Okay, and these muscles, these all muscles except the brachioradialis and angonius, they extend their tendons into the hand. Okay, and the deep group includes the supinator, abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, extensor pollicis longus, extensor incisis. Except for the supinator muscles, all these deep muscles, they originate from the posterior surface of the radius and interosseous membrane, and they passed into the thumb and fingers. And this brachioradialis and extensor carpi radialis longus, its nerve supply is radial nerve, and the rest of the muscles, they are supplied by the deep branch of radial nerve. Okay, and in the deep group, the supinator is supplied by the deep branch of radial nerve, while the rest of the muscles, they are supplied by the posterior interosseous nerve.